Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Pastatime with Scarish Podcast.
Woo.
I'm Rowan Grace, this is Adam Diaz, and
Hello.
that's a sad woo. We're not sad, he's just making a weird woo.
I'm just not wooing loud for like a little while. I'll get back to it, I'm sure, but just for this this moment in time, my woos are just spoken woos. They're like William Shatner singing right now, so...
how does William Shatner sing?
He just talks. He doesn't actually sing.
Okay, cool. Pastatimes are times where we read some pastas. Adam, why don't you tell us what a creepypasta is?
A creepypasta is essentially a fictional short story that has been posted on the internet, maybe even perhaps published somewhere, or sent directly to us by a wonderful spooky friend. And if you have a short story that is fictional and you're like, hey, I like this, I think you folks should read it, you can send it our way. You can email pastatime@scarish.com. We'd be more than happy to read it. Or you can go to our website, scarish.com, click on Contact Us, make sure you mark it as a pastatime, send it our way, and tell us it's okay to share. And then you can hit us up on any of our social medias like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. That also works. But if you're sending us a story, you probably want to shoot it over in an email, unless you're going to send us 50 million direct messages. And that's probably not the best way to do it formatting-wise. So... either way, we're going to be reading 4 creepypastas tonight. We read 2 last time, and they were both pretty stinking long. So I told Robin this morning, I'm going to read short ones today. And I think Robin also decided to go short as well.
Okay, when you pasted it, was it short?
They're fairly short. They're definitely nothing like the last few episodes.
Okay.
So I'm pretty excited. I've read one of mine, and the other one was recommended to me by a coworker, and they said, don't read it, don't spoil it, just read it live on the air. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Huh? Cool.
So I'm going to be reading Friends, which is the one I've already read, and then after that I'll be reading Never Again, which is the one I was recommended. Robin, which ones are you going to be reading?
I'm going to actually be pulling from the subreddit No Sleep. So their titles aren't really like titles, they're like the titles of their posts. But one's called A Package Marked Return to Sender, which all right.
It's one of my favorite songs.
And then the other is called I'm a 911 operator. Just had the most terrifying call.
Interesting.
So, yeah, our No Sleep has some pretty good winners on there.
Right on.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Let's have you go first.
All right, I have the mouse
gotta get
anyways.
in the zone.
All right, so the first one that I'm going to read is called Friends, and it's, I'm pretty sure, themed after the television show of the same name. Starts out like this. It's not. I'm just kidding. It starts out like this. I don't remember much about my childhood, like most people. Those memories are always vague, and eventually you realize whatever you remember, in quotes, is probably just a reconstructed memory. You don't have much choice in the matter, and are usually convinced that your memory would never fail you. The first memory I have was when I was 5. I'm not sure if it's real or not, but that's when I think I met Michael. I never had any friends, so I was glad when I met him. He called me Jack, and I liked it. As uncertain I am if I remember our first encounter, there is no doubting the strong bond we immediately formed. I won't bore you with the details of what we did every day for the past few years, but I will outline some of the things we did together to assure even the most skeptical among the readers of our friendship. Michael, being a slightly effeminate child, didn't have many friends at school either. He was bullied, and the highlight of his day was coming home and sharing a cup of tea with me, all the while telling me of his woes and lessening his burden.
That's cute.
The tea, unlike my words of consolation, was make-believe.
Aww.
Another one of his favorite activities was cutting my hair. He would style it in all sorts of ways, and I enjoyed each of them. Fortunately for him, my hair grew inexplicably fast, and he often got a chance to restyle it. There was one thing that constantly strained our relationship, though. Don't get me wrong. Michael and I had absolutely no hard feelings towards each other. It was his parents. I don't think they approved of me, and I couldn't tell you why if I even tried. It wasn't just disapproval. I began to think that they hated me. The longer our friendship lasted, the worse it got. It pains me to even think about it, so I won't dwell on this for long. As quickly as our relationship had initially flourished, it began to diminish after 2 years. Michael grew to become a stocky football player, and I remained exactly the same as before, scrawny and completely incapable of competing athletically. He made new friends and started to ignore me. This hurt me a lot, especially since I was there for him in his time of need. His abandoning me was the last thing I expected, and it hit me hard. I felt like I had no one left in the world. As I sit in the corner of the room and write this, I can see Michael and his friends watching TV. Sometimes it seems like he notices me and looks my way, but I know better. I have now resigned to my fate. He created me, but forgot to destroy me.
It's an imaginary friend.
Correct.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I read that one. I was like, oh, shit. I love that ending. So I hope you also enjoyed that one. I really, really like the short ones. I don't think they always have to have a twist, but sometimes they just hit harder if they do. And you can kind of pick up on the things that they do together. Like he cut his hair. They had tea parties, like stuff that you would do with an imaginary friend. So,
well, I mean, you would do that with your regular friends too. That's what makes it so sad.
It was really good, though. I enjoyed it. The credit goes to Vish P. V-I-S-H-P. The letter P. Vishp. They're two separate things.
There's two separate things, yeah.
Either way, I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. And yeah, that's the end of the first one.
All right, so I'm going to read my first story of the episode. It's from the subreddit No Sleep, and it's by a person whose username is Manen Lisette.
Got it.
I probably said that wrong, but that's how it looks like, spelled.
We tried. That's the point.
I was about to read from my phone, but it's on the screen. Okay. Story goes. My neighbor is one of those annoying wannabe YouTube personalities.
Oh, God. Is this story about us?
It's about us. Over the years, I've seen him cough out cinnamon, lay flat on the hood of his car as it slowly creeps down the driveway, and douse himself in lukewarm water, all the while screaming, epic win, epic fail, or fuck. It can get tiring to watch him go about his shenanigans in the pursuit of viral fame, so when he knocked on my door the other day, told me he was going away for a few weeks, and asked that I get his mail, honestly, it was a relief. I can't explain the peace of mind I had knowing I didn't have to brace myself for any of his stupidity for a while. I was always afraid his stunts would wind up bleeding over into my life. Things were pretty normal for the first couple of days. He received a few bills, a bit of spam, love spam, and what I could only assume was a birthday card. Then, one evening, I got home to find a cardboard box waiting on his front porch. In big red letters was written, "Return to sender."
Address unknown.
I love the Elvis song too.
No such person, no such zone.
I'm no small fry, but I admit I had trouble lifting the box on my own. It was really freaking heavy. Lugging it across the road to my house was even harder, and I quickly realized there's no way I was going to drag it up the stairs and through my front door. I decided that I'd leave his package in my garage. It wasn't like I kept my car in there. The garage door was a piece of shit that refused to open without a good thug and a whack. It was less trouble just leaving the car in the driveway than it was to fight with the garage door every morning and every night. In hindsight, I should have set the package down while I struggled to open the tricky door, but you know how it is when you've got a good grip on something. No point in setting it down if you don't have to.
It's like when you're like bringing in all the groceries and you know you should probably just make 2, maybe even 3 trips, but you're like, nah, I want some permanent nerve damage in my arms. And you just put every bag on your fucking arms and just drag it inside and then realize you can't lift your arms.
It was as I kicked the door for a third time that I lost my grip on the package and it fell to the ground.
Oh no.
I heard a light crack inside. Shit, I cursed. I hoped I hadn't broken anything important, but figured I just wouldn't tell my neighbor about it and let him assume the break happened en route.
It's exactly what I thought too. Blame the carrier.
Hands-free, I finally managed to get the garage door unstuck, and boy did it screech in protest as it rolled up and over me. I dragged the box the rest of the way, setting it in the corner for whenever my neighbor would come back to claim it. And then I forgot all about it. Until a few days passed, that is. I'm not sure exactly how long it took for the smell to waft in from the crack under the garage to house door.
Oh no.
But it came in slow progression. It was a sickly sweet odor similar to a skunk, and for the first few days after I smelled it, I genuinely assumed that's exactly what it was. Roadkill that had left its mark on my house.
Who would send a skunk?
Sorry.
He's not assuming that's what's in the package. He's assuming
that's what it smells like.
House. Got it. Okay, sorry.
It just smells like roadkill is what he just said. It was only when I realized the scent was growing more intense instead of fading that I went looking for a source. That's when I opened the garage door, and that's when the odor knocked me back, holding my nose. The culprit wasn't hard to identify. The only change in my garage was the box in the corner. I remember thinking it must have been one of those meat of the month subscription boxes. The meat must have gone rancid from being left out of the fridge for so long. How much meat could have been in there for the box to have been so large and heavy? An entire freaking cow? I covered my nose as I approached the box, a pair of scissors in my hand. I probably wouldn't have needed them to open it as it had become soggy enough at the bottom to poke through with a finger.
It's super gross.
But I wasn't about to poke my finger into spoiled meat juices. The soggy bottom was the reason I had to open the box in the first place. If I tried to drag it out whole, everything would have spilled onto the floor.
If I've learned anything from Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry and Prue, you never want a soggy bottom. That's always going to be a bad time. I like you have no banter. You're just like, shut the fuck up.
I was going to have to dump the pieces of meat one garbage bag at a time and take them down to the dumpster, a process I wasn't looking forward to. My scissors tore through the tape along the top of the cardboard box. I thought the smell couldn't get any worse, but as I flipped the flaps open, I discovered a whole new gamut of stink. It was like opening a burning oven, but instead of a heat wave, I was met with waves of piss, sweat, shit, and putrefaction. It was so bad that I staggered back and had to force down the puke, begging to guzzle out of me. That's such a weird sentence.
Doesn't guzzle mean you're swallowing?
Yeah.
I'd like to point out, again, in case anyone forgot, these are Pastatime. So these are short stories that are fictional. I think, like, reading this sometimes, I start to think, like, man, this couldn't have happened to someone. Yeah. No, it couldn't have.
I don't think I could have handled that scent mingling with the horrors coming out of that box. I'm not ashamed to admit that I ran out the door for a breath of fresh air, but in the short time I'd spent in the garage, the smell had become so ingrained in the fabric of my clothes that it clung to me like a shadow. Nothing I tried to keep... Fuck.
That sounded like Panic at the Disco. Fuck.
Victorious. That song's good. Okay. Not the one I just sang, but the actual
You're
song.
my double bubble disco queen.
Oh, thanks.
I would add you to a guillotine.
What the fuck? I was going to say the double bubbles are my ass cheeks. Okay. Nothing I tried... Shit. Stop laughing.
Don't make funny jokes.
Nothing I tried could keep the smell out of my nostrils. Not air fresheners, not a face mask, not 3 showers and a change of clothes. Every second that box lay open in my garage was another second the smell was allowed a foothold into my home. I had to bite the bullet. I returned to the garage, the flaps of the box still open as though inviting me to look. I was prepared, a clothespin pinning my nostril shut. You can actually breathe through your mouth, like close your nose, right? Like block your nose from smelling. Have you ever done that? Where you like stop smelling through your nose and you just breathe through your mouth and you can't smell anything.
But then you taste it.
That's true.
I know that taste is very much involved with the sense of smell. And in most cases, you actually don't taste it.
You don't taste it until...
It is psychological.
After. No.
I swear to God, as soon as I try and block my nose, I'm like, yeah, it tastes rancid.
I try to do that when emptying out the litter box sometimes, and I...
well, you can actually taste it because, like...
Well, you're breathing it, right?
Yeah.
And you don't realize you're breathing in the grit from the
How do you not
realize
kitty
litter.
That? That's so obvious.
Because I don't close my mouth, I'm breathing through my mouth. So I don't close my mouth, but I'm trying to empty out the kitty litter as fast as possible, but you're breathing in that grit from the dumping. Okay, you know what? Anyway, I was prepared, a clothespin pinning my nostril shut, a garbage bag in one hand, the strongest cleaner I could find in the other, and long rubber gloves to keep my skin from having to touch what was inside. But as it turns out, I needed none of those things. I wouldn't have to touch or clean the contents of that box. I would only have to suffer the nightmares every night. You see, there was meat in that box, but it didn't come from a cow or a pig. It was worse than that. It was my neighbor. Dead, still in one piece, but dead.
How is he fitting in this box?
I called the cops, and naturally, they took me in for interrogation. It's kind of hard not to suspect the man with the corpse in his garage, after all. Thankfully, they soon realized I wasn't involved. My DNA might have been all over that box. The smell might have left a mark throughout my house, but there was one piece of irrefutable evidence in my neighbor's own hands that proved my innocence. A vlogging camera. They showed me the footage only once. I'm not sure if they were allowed to or if they felt so bad for me they figured it couldn't hurt. Either way, I saw it.
When he dropped the box, right?
I think when he dropped the box, he killed his fucking neighbor. My neighbor was sitting in the box outside of a shipping facility, laughing as he told the world how he was going to mail himself across state lines. Nah, he was dead already in that box, gotta be. He'd brought pee bottles, food, a pillow, and a few flashlights. His friend, a guide seen at his place several times to help with his stunts, closed the lid and presumably dropped him off for shipment. Throughout the next couple of hours or days, I'm honestly not sure, my neighbor recorded a few short clips about his progress. I think I'm in a truck now. I can feel it moving. Must be in a warehouse. Pretty warm here. Still got plenty of food. That kind of stuff. And then, on the last entry, the box toppled over. He broke his neck, and that was it. The camera recorded until either the memory card got full or the battery died. There's one thing I didn't tell the police after they showed me the video. One thing I heard in the footage that will haunt me till the day I die. Just after the tumble that broke his neck, I heard the familiar screeching sound of my garage door.
He killed his neighbor.
He totally killed his neighbor.
I would also like to think the neighbor killed himself on accident from being dumb.
Realistically, UPS, USPS, whoever would have already opened that box because they scan that shit, you know? I'm pretty sure they x-ray your boxes to make sure you don't have bombs.
I'm sure at some
box.
point, for sure, they have to run something through an x-ray.
Yeah.
I just don't know at what point that would be. But they marked it return to sender and they sent it back to his house, you know? So I'm wondering if they determined that this thing wasn't shippable and they sent it back without realizing it was a person. I'm creating a head fic right now to make up for some holes in this story.
I'm just saying, any actual real life mailing service would have opened the box.
I don't know. You know, there's only one way to figure this out, right?
You want to ship yourself?
Fuck no, that's the stupidest idea ever. Just saying, and no one else should either.
Yeah, that's dumb. Stupid.
I did like how the story unfolded little by little. It started out with the disdain for the neighbor and showing you just how stupid they could be. At no point did I ever think they were in the box until, like, you realized that they were in the box. Then I was like, oh, he killed them. Gotcha.
The entire time I thought there was a fan that was in the box that had put themselves on that person's porch, this YouTuber's porch, to kind of get inside their house. That's what I thought. And then, you know, he died because he dropped the box and you heard that crack sound.
Right now, when you said there was a fan in the box, I was like, who the fuck would ship a fan?
No, like a fanatic.
Yeah, I thought you meant like a floor fan. Either way, very thought-provoking.
Yeah.
This one was very deep.
Yeah, it's cool.
Cut me to the bone, so I actually really did enjoy it. I'm not making
Yeah, I actually did enjoy that one too.
Good
as
stuff.
Unrealistic as it is.
Good second story of the show, Robin.
Thanks.
So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. So I'm going to move into my second story of the show, and this one's called Never Again. I have not read this one yet, so it could suck. We're going to find out. It goes like this. I was 17 when she came. I'd been living with my abusive mother for 17 long, painful years. It was around midnight, and my mother was already asleep, so when 3 soft raps at the front door came, it was me who answered. An odd-looking little girl stood there, with cheeks pale and colorless blonde hair and braided pigtails, pink dress torn a little at the hem, and feet bare and turning slightly blue from the cold of winter, and black eyes.
Don't answer, black-eyed children. We learned this.
Fathomless, deep, black eyes. Okay, I just read ahead with my eyes. Sometimes my eyes just do that. They just take a quick sneak preview. This next sentence is the stupidest thing anyone could ever do in this case. I quickly let her in, thinking of how horridly underdressed she was. It wasn't until later I'd wonder why she'd not been shivering, or even question as to why she was here in the first place. I got her into the living room, wrapping her little form in a thick afghan my grandmother knitted. She held it, though it didn't seem to affect her, and I smiled. What's your name, sweetie? A long silence passed, in which she stared at me. I was beginning to be discomforted by her black gaze when she parted her lips and spoke in a soft voice.
That's how they get you.
Lacey Morgan. I nodded, smiling again.
I like your soft voice.
You can stay here tonight, Lacey, I said, motioning to the couch. You're just going to jump straight into that? You're not going to ask, like, where are your parents? Where do you live? How'd you get outside? None of that?
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Exactly. Story continues. She curled up in a little ball, black eyes still on me, and I exited the room. That night, I slept soundly, not worrying about my mother beating me or the strange little girl on my couch. So far, I'm having a really hard time suspending my disbelief for any of this.
Okay, wait. Why?
Because one, you just like have this little girl come in. You don't try and find their parents where they're at, take any further care of them. You're just like, you can sleep here. Go ahead and lay down. I'm going to go to bed now. Like, that's just wouldn't fucking happen. All right.
Call the police.
No one calls the police. You don't try and do anything about it. When morning came, I trudged into the kitchen. I was greeted with a coffee mug to the shoulder. I gave a feeble shout of pain, staring at my mother.
What the fuck?
What the hell did you do? Why is there dirt on the couch? She shouted, confusing me greatly.
What a biznatch.
Upon investigating, I found that Lacey had vanished. The only proof she'd been there being some dirt that must have fallen off of her feet or her dress. I took responsibility, earning myself a strong hit to my cheek, then left for school. While there, I heard something that sent chills through my spine. Lacey Morgan was found dead last night. Who's saying this? Like, you're hearing this on the news? I'm confused. I passed the day waiting for any more news on the subject, but found none. Upon arriving home, the news was broadcasting a live report on her. Lacey Morgan, 6 years of age, was reported dead at 7 last night. Her body was located in the backyard, buried there in her pink dress. So far, there has been no sign of her mother, Marissa Morgan, who is suspected to be the killer. Marissa has reportedly abused Lacey multiple times and may be responsible for her death.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, a picture of Lacey appeared on the screen. She appeared very close to how she had when I met her, blonde hair and braids, pink dress, pale face. Only her cheeks had color, and her eyes were baby blue. To most, this would seem unimportant, but to me, it was. No, I think black eyes would seem pretty fucking important to most people. She died before arriving at my house, if what the newscaster said was true. Died hours before. I tried to play it off, going about my business. Sorry.
What?
What the fuck are you trying to play off? You saw a goddamn ghost, let it in, and decided not to ask any questions? I went to bed early so as not to have my mother see. It was around midnight when I woke to cool fingers stroking the bruise on my cheek.
It's her.
I sighed, leaning into the small hand.
It's the goo-goo-goo-goo-goo.
Never again, Lacey whispered before her hand vanished. Not 10 minutes later, I heard my mother screaming. I rushed into her bedroom, nearly fainting at what I saw. My mom was thrashing wildly on her bed, a small creature having buried its face into her chest. I could hear the sound of flesh tearing, and my mother's screaming increased in volume. I wished I hadn't gotten up. Later on, I'd tell myself I hadn't, but I had. So when Lacey pulled back from the gaping hole in my mother's chest cavity, I had a plain view of her razor-sharp teeth glinting in the light, glinting with my mother's blood. She smiled innocently at me for a moment. I don't think there's any way to smile innocently with blood all over your face and razor-sharp teeth, but okay. Before swiftly tearing out my mother's jugular. That time, I did faint. When I came to, I was in my bed. I walked to my mom's room, morbid curiosity getting the best of me. Upon opening the door, I found the room empty. The bed made neatly as if my mom had left early for work. The only oddities were the dirty child's footprints and the open window showing that Lacey had in fact visited.
That's creepy.
I never saw my mother again, and I never missed her either. I eventually got married and we had a child together. The weed's not appropriate there. I named her Lacey. What the fuck? Recently, I noticed the neighbor's daughter has all sorts of scrapes and bruises on her arms. I started watching their home, and the other day I saw something odd. A little girl running barefoot through their backyard up to their back door. It was around midnight, so I couldn't be sure, but I thought she met my eyes with her black ones, and I could swear she mouthed 2 words at me. Never again.
That's creepy.
It is creepy.
It's creepy, but it's like murdering for good. It's like a Dexter type creature.
This is the definition for me of a story that's trying too hard. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like you're missing out on details. Like, I don't think, and I'm not making light of whoever wrote this, but I don't think that person has ever had a parent abuse them, which is why the details are like, oh, I got hit in the shoulder with a coffee mug, or, you know, I earned a slap on my face or something like that. Like, that is not enough to justify having this person's heart ripped out for me. As well as the fact that, like, the actions that they take when they have a little girl show up on their door are just bizarrely not what a normal person would do.
Right.
Literally ever.
Especially if you, to me, it's like, if you're afraid of getting beaten, right? Why would you let a stranger come into your house while your mom's sleeping? That's asking to
Why
get
would you
beaten.
not wake up your mom to be like, hey, there's a little girl at the door?
I'd be, for me, as someone who's been beaten, by my parents, to me, it'd be like, no, you're not coming in. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to get in trouble for your ass. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how that works. Like, for my mentality, I don't want to get hit again. So why would I do something to get hit again?
Even in that mindset, I think that a lot of people, including myself, would just be like, I'm going to call the cops, you know? Or like, can I call your parents? Or something along those lines. But it was literally like, oh, they have black eyes. So I let them in, wrapped them up, asked them their name, and told them to stay with me. And then went to bed and slept and didn't worry about it at all. It just seems so bizarre.
Unrealistic.
And like, yeah, it's like one of those B, C-rated horror movies you see where as you're watching, you're like, no one would ever do that. No one would ever do that. And no one would ever do that. Cool. Fun. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I'm not trying to shit all over it. I did enjoy the fact that it was supposed to be like, little girl got murdered and then came back and was a vengeful spirit. Like a revenant, I think is what they're called when they're vengeful spirits looking for a reckoning. But either way, pretty good. Nice. Solid third story, I think, to Pastatime. So, yeah. Good stuff.
All right, so I'm going to read my final story of the episode. This one is from our No Sleep. The author is Higgs Thunder. And like the title of it is, I'm a 911 operator that just had the most terrifying call.
Which is interesting, because we know a 911 operator.
And we're going to have a 911 operator on the show. Hey!
Tell us some stories and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to happen in a future episode. We don't know which episode, but it's going to happen in the future.
I'm not trying to put pressure on anyone here, because it's always really relaxed and casual. But I do think it's going to be the greatest podcast episode of all time, of all podcasts.
Shut up. It's not.
So I'm actually just really, really excited
I'm just
to do
excited
it.
because
it's going to be a really fun time.
911 operators have crazy stories, okay? So we're going to get into this one that is a Pastatime. So, creepypasta, whatever. We call this Pastatime.
We should just all change it. Tell the internet to change it to Pastatime and then send them all to us.
Okay. So, it goes. 911, what's your emergency? And if you guys watch 911, the TV show, that's how the episode always fucking starts. Yeah, hi. This is gonna sound kind of strange, but there's a man stumbling around in circles in my front yard. Could you repeat that, sir? He looks sick, or lost, or drunk, or something. I just woke up to get a glass of water and heard snow crunching around under my front window. So I peeked out. I'm looking at him now. He's about 10 yards away from my window. Something's not right. What's your address, sir? 1617 Quarry Lane in Pinella Pass. Lots of details in the story, apparently. I'm going to send a squad car your way, but that's quite a ways out. Are you alone in your house, sir? Yeah, I'm alone. Can you confirm that all your doors and windows are locked? Stay on the phone with me. She didn't say that breathy, of course. I know that my front door is definitely locked, but I'll go check my back door again real quick. I appreciate your help, by the way. I know this is kind of strange, but I really hope that... Sir? You still there? He's still in the yard, but what the fuck? He's upside down. Sir, stay on with me. What's happening?
This just sounds like a drunk guy doing a handstand in the snow.
He's staring right at me, but he's standing on his hands now. He's perfectly still, staring straight at me. He's doing a handstand, and he's smiling at me and not moving. He's doing a handstand, sir? I don't know. He's facing me and standing on his hands, and he's got this huge smile, and he's perfectly still. What the fuck? Please get someone here now. Sir, I need you to remain calm. I put out the call and an officer's on his way. His teeth are so huge. What the fuck? Please help me. Sir, I want you to try and keep an eye on him, but make sure your back door is locked again. We need to make sure all possible access points are secured. Can you talk me through and confirm that your back door is locked? Okay, I'm walking backwards now, keeping him in my sight. My hand is on the back doorknob now. It's locked. I need to check the deadbolt, so I'm going to take my eyes off of him for a split second.
Bonehead move.
Why would you take your eyes off of him? Just lock the deadbolt with your eyes on him. All right, sir. Help is on the way. Just stay on the phone with me. Everything's going to be all right. Sir? Sir, are you still there? His face. It's up against the glass. Sir, I need you to speak up. What's happening? I looked away for a split second and now his face is pressed up against the front window. His teeth are huge and he's smiling. There's no color in his eyes. Jesus, please help me. Why won't it just fucking move?
Lots of black-eyed people or colorless-eyed people.
Sir, I need you to go to the nearest room and lock yourself inside of it. Do you have a basement or a bedroom that you can lock yourself in?
A basement?
That's the worst
Do
idea
you have a
I've
coffin
ever
you
heard.
can put yourself in to just fucking skip a step?
He won't stop staring. He's gonna hurt me. Sir, I need you to listen to me. Lock yourself somewhere safe until the officer arrives at your home. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm gonna lock myself in my room. And you're positive that you're alone in your house, correct? Yes, I'm alone in my house. Wait a moment. He's moving. He's shaking his head. He's telling me no. He can hear us. He's telling me I'm not alone. Sir? Sir, are you still there? I heard a loud noise. Is everything all right? Sir? And it ends.
That's the end.
That's the end.
I think my theory here is that he was being distracted by this thing in his yard.
And what? Okay.
And, let me finish. The other velociraptor came in and attacked him from the sides because they're clever girls.
No, I think it's someone, maybe people trying to break into his home, right?
With razor sharp fucking teeth standing on their hands?
There's people that wear stupid rubber masks all the time.
So you think this is just true crime?
It could just straight up be true crime. Isn't true crime terrifying in and of
I
itself?
thought when this person was standing on their hands, smiling, they're going to start rocking a piss, which would have been terrifying as well, but also very impressive.
Gross.
They do state they looked away and then all of a sudden their face was up against the glass, but they didn't state if they're right side up or they're still upside down, so
Yeah.
I was not sure what I'm supposed to be picturing.
Right.
Because in my mind's eye, his face was up against the glass, upside down, which seems less threatening for some reason.
Imagine some, what is it called? Purge. Like imagine some people in like masks from the Purge, right? And that's what you're seeing, you know? It's a mask. It looks like someone with razor sharp teeth and they're doing stupid shit in your yard. But what's really happening is someone is breaking into a different window in your house, but you're not paying attention to that because you're paying attention to the fucking dude doing crazy shit in your front yard.
Okay, you've opened up a really big can of worms here, mainly because you're bringing up the Purge. And if the Purge is happening, I'm probably not going to be in my house, the front window that's very easily shot through or broken through.
I said purge like mask, bitch.
Whatever. You brought up the Purge, my brain went to Purge Town. I wouldn't purge, but I'd definitely be protecting myself. Also, I would definitely protect myself. I wouldn't be like, I'm so scared I'm going to hide in my room. I'd be like, I'm going to get a knife, and if anything comes within stabby range, Mr. Stabby and me are going to go stabbing.
You call that a knife.
Oh, I like your razor sharp teeth in your mouth. I have two in my hands, and I will stab you with them. Just saying. I get it. It's fucking terrifying. It's a very scary concept. I think the sharp razor teeth are real, and this is supposed to be like some mockery of a human being, rather than just being some guy who's apparently a fucking acrobat, who's just standing on their hands for some reason, wearing this terrifying mask while someone else breaks into the house and is completely unheard.
So what's with the shaking of the head telling him that there's someone else in the house?
Because there's another one of it in the house.
Okay, how would it get in the house?
It got in the back door.
Oh, before he locked the other back door.
And it locked the back door once it got in.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I mean, if I was a terrifying creature.
Okay.
Or a purger. I'd get in the back door and then I'd lock the bottom lock, not the top lock. It's too noisy. So they'd be like, oh, I'm fine. I'm safe in here. My back door is locked. And then my buddy on the front lawn with his sweet fucking mask would shake his head like, no, you're not. And I'd be like, what the fuck? Why'd I sneak in if you're going to tell him that?
That's a good point.
We should contact the author and see what it's supposed to be. So, I mean, I know like a lot of literature is like, what do you think it is?
Up for interpretation, like the end of every Hamilton show?
I think that's just the way. Up for interpretation is basically the way of saying like, I couldn't figure out how to end it. So either way, good stuff, Robin.
Thanks.
Nice fourth story.
Thank you so much to all the authors of all these stories.
Indeed. We appreciate all of you.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you.
If any of you have a story out there that you would like to have read on the show, please send it our way. We would love to read it. So.
Fictional stories, you can send it to
pastatime@scarish.com. And if you have a story that happened to you and is nonfiction, go ahead and send those to Storytime. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. At $1, you get ad-free. Everyone loves ad-free. And if you want to, there's some physical merch tiers on there as well. And, if you're not into the monthly donations, you can do single donations at ko-fi.com/Scarish podcast. All your donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup, kind of keep us going, keep us motivated, help us make new merch. All the donations really get reinvested into the show, and
almost 100% reinvested into the show, in fact. But sincerely, thank you to everyone who supports us by listening, sharing the show, rating and reviewing, as long as they're 5 stars, and donating as well. It's amazing that anyone even cares to do those things, and it still blows us away every time it happens. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. But that is the end of Pastatime number 10. So Robin, why don't you go ahead and sign us out?
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.